I think I spent years in my early career trying to be the person that I thought I should be. And I think I got very lucky that I left private practice at the point where I did. Life is too short to pretend to be somebody that you're not. So I left the corporate world forever, in my view, at the time, in January 2017. And then I spent a few months kind of torturing myself on what the hell am I going to call this thing? Am I going to do it at all? Is anyone willing to do it with me in terms of the sort of supply side and the legal side? And then we started building in earnest in July, beginning of July 2017.
Oh, wow. So
Yeah.
what made you, because you were originally a lawyer.
Yes.
So what made you not want to be a lawyer anymore?
I've done it for 20 years, Alice. I went into the legal profession in 1997. It was the job I wanted to do. It still remains the job I love. I mean, I did 5 years in private practice, and then I just started working for incredible brands where the business side and the sales and marketing side just appealed to me more than the partnership track. And I think everything I'd done, all my sort of Saturday jobs, everything I'd done during my holidays as a student and stuff, they'd all been for brands in that sort of fast-paced, fast-moving consumer goods sector. And I don't think I even realized, because I was studying law and I was going to be a lawyer, right? I don't think I realized what was happening in parallel, which was this absolute love of being with people, of looking at the power of brand, of watching what you can do to make people fall in love with something if it's really authentic and it really serves a purpose and it has impact. And I was kind of almost ignoring, I think, that side of my personality completely. I got the chance to work for the music industry, so I took it, and it was amazing. And it was right at the time where Napster sort of hit the airwaves. No one saw it coming. The music publisher I was working with was like, oh my God, shut it down. Everybody wanted to annihilate them, right? And I was running around the building at the time going, can we just buy them? Look what's happening, buy it. Then you've got the ability to learn all this stuff, but you're kind of controlling it too, right? Antitrust lawyer by background, it never really dies. And they just didn't want to do it. And I taught myself tech at the time. I played with it. I just talked to as many people as I could. I absolutely loved it. And I actually blame Napster for my obsession with tech, because the only thing you could do with your mobile phone in those days, we were still doing that ABC, D, E, F kind of how many times can you tap the same button. The only thing you could do was text and ring on these phones. I mean, smartphones hadn't even been invented, and Napster came out, and suddenly you could stream music and you could do all of this other stuff that just no one had imagined. It was incredible. It was anarchic, but it was incredible. And then I left the music industry ultimately because I got sort of pinched by the drinks industry, and I worked for Diageo and Guinness, Smirnoff, Gordon's, Johnny Walker, all the big brands. And I spent all my time with the sales and marketers doing law, but that's what I did. And then I joined the diamond industry because that seemed like an obvious next fit, clearly. And I spent about 9 or 10 incredibly happy years doing so much stuff. It was anything and everything. So I went to Hollywood and I argued with Leonardo DiCaprio and Ed Zwick over the script of the Blood Diamond film. I traveled the world with them. It was just anything, everything. It was law, but it was law right out there, and there weren't any answers for half of what we did. I went back into an American law firm for a while because I really wanted to take it back to the profession. I really wanted to go back to law firms, because I never left because I hated it. I left because the opportunities were amazing, right? And I was, I guess in hindsight, quite naive. I worked with some lovely people back in private practice, but it was just impossible to change anything, and you couldn't change anything fast. And I went back in thinking, I really want to learn technology. I really want to learn how law and technology are intersecting right now. And it would be really fun to build apps, which I did, and do a few other things. But really, there wasn't that sort of impetus to really make a difference, to really share information, to really do the kind of stuff that, I ended up doing for insurance, and then ultimately with Ferrilio too.
Tell me a little bit about what Ferrilio is and why you started it.
So Ferrilio is an online platform for business solutions. Law obviously is a golden thread that weaves all the way through it, and we started very much with law because we felt that was the biggest gap in many ways for most of our small business sort of community. It was one where people were identifying, access to funds, insurance at the time, not knowing what you needed and how much it cost. Banking to a degree, but you kind of had to get started for banking to be more relevant. And then obviously law. So when we talk to people about what do you mean by law, a lot of the time it wasn't law. It was a lot of the practical steps for which, law definitely had a presence, but it just wasn't actually the overriding need. A lot of it was sort of 5 steps back with thinking and planning. So the aim was really to build something that joined up all the dots and put everything in context. But also from a professional point of view, I wanted to position lawyers differently. I wanted to answer small business needs because law firms weren't interested. Small businesses aren't profitable. You can't say, hey, with the local corner and a hairdresser and the kebab shop and the graphic design agency around the corner and go pitch to HSBC, because HSBC probably wouldn't choose you on the basis of that experience. But yet those businesses have just as much a legitimate need for proper support, proper knowledge. But I also wanted to do something about the reputation of the profession. I find it really jarring when people say, oh, lawyers, and it's that sort of horrible derogatory tone. And I'm like, I don't know any lawyer that wakes up in the morning and thinks, I'm going to give my clients a really bad experience right now. I'm going to talk Mandarin to them. I'm going to charge them a load of stuff, all the things that we get leveled at us, right? And so that's what Ferlio basically was designed to do, to sort of create this ecosystem of really great people who know stuff and to share stuff and to be paid to take the journey further, and people who need to know stuff and who maybe don't know what they don't know, so need that sort of environment to really embrace them and say, people who look like you did this, and people can just get on with what they need to do, and they can do what they do brilliantly, as opposed to having to turn ourselves all founders into lawyers and accountants and every other form of technical expert overnight, as well as do the things that actually sells. Basically the mission is to smash all barriers to what small businesses need.
Yeah, it's really cool. So you've been doing it for just over 3.5 years.
Yeah.
So how big is your team? How's it going?
They make the magic happen. So there's 18 of us. It's genuinely a privilege to work with them. So pretty much everyone in the team has run a business, at least one. The culture is very strong. Everybody knows why we're in this, what the mission is, what it means on a day-to-day level. And it makes for a really nice dynamic. It's very diverse. We're sort of spread out all over the place. But ultimately at heart is just that commitment to giving people a really good experience and to getting rid of anything that stands in their way.
Being a female lawyer has its own challenges. Being a female founder has its own challenges. And being a female tech founder in law has its own challenges. How have you found that? Have you experienced any really blatant sexism in what you're doing, or have you experienced just wonderful support?
I think I've had a bit of both, to be honest. In fact, a lot of wonderful support from all sides, all genders, which is great. We wouldn't be here without some phenomenal male colleagues, without some visionary male investors. I think the fundraise journey is the area where I've most felt aware that I'm female. The rest of the time, to be quite honest, I don't really think about it. I've never been made to think about it. The fundraise journey for me really brought home the fact I was female, and not all the time because of what I experienced, but a lot of the time what people told me I would experience. Oh, you're female, so you'll find it really hard to fundraise. Oh, you're female, well, you do know that only 1% of females get invested in, so don't get your hopes up. So there was an awful lot of that, which I think particularly in the early stages, when you kind of know you've got to be the only person in the room who really believes to be able to persuade everybody else, and that's fine. But then being told you haven't really got a good chance of it because you're female, which is something I can't really fix. I could fix, my deck not being good enough, or the finances not being, most of the other stuff is in your control. I don't know what to do about this one because I'm kind of stuck with it, and I don't see why I should be apologetic for it. But there have been moments where I got told sort of very early on, this would be a blindingly brilliant idea if you had a male co-founder. That one really, I was so puzzled by it, I didn't even know what to say. It's like, so the idea is not good because I'm female? That's a really, really strange one. And occasionally, just being told, well, it would be really helpful if when you go to pitch, you had someone male with you, because you want to be taken seriously. I think, it's not like I'm turning up with kind of ribbons in my hair and kind of looking frivolous or airhead. Like, I mean, I know I'm blonde, but hopefully the track record and everything else is good enough, right?
Yeah. Gosh, those stories are horrible, aren't they?
They are, and I will never excuse them, but I choose not to be defined by them. I'm quite often asked, oh, you're a female founder, will you come and talk about fundraising? Will you come and talk about these things? And I have really mixed views about it. Yes, I'm always happy to share experience, but I don't know that I'm any particular kind of role model, or I haven't had any particular success in a way that I think, creates a blueprint for others. Other than to say, frankly, do your damnedest to stand on your own 2 feet as fast as you possibly can and prove to the world that, you're here because you're here as all right and you're good enough. I think just get on and prove it can be done, and don't rely on anyone, and don't be disappointed when people let you down, because plenty of people will. You just get out there and prove that it can be done and you're the right person to lead this.
Yeah. Do you think you'd ever be a lawyer again?
I don't think you ever lose that sense of what it means to be a lawyer. I mean, I entered the profession to help. I entered the profession to make things better. And because I wanted to be better, I wanted to learn from people who were better. And I never left the profession. In fact, I never left it full stop in my own head and my heart. But I never left private practice because I hated it. I didn't. I really enjoyed it. There was a parallel journey that was too shiny, too bright, too amazing to say no to. And I think I spent years in my early career trying to be the person that I thought I should be. And I think I got very lucky that I left private practice at the point where I did, not because it was a bad place for me to be, but because when you enter the world of sales and marketing, it's anything goes. And I think it gave me real permission to explore who I was and who I wanted to be. And I don't think I looked back or changed since that point. But, I think life is too short to pretend to be somebody that you're not, or to go around apologizing for being female and not having a male co-founder, etc., etc. You just got to go get on and do it and enjoy it.
Love that.
I think we have so many hidden talents that we're schooled not to realize because they're not part of the traditional job. Look at you, you're running a law firm. I mean, gosh, I think that's one of the hardest things ever to do. And yet you did it.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's a massive learning curve, isn't it? Starting your own business and running your own business and growing a business. And I mean, I constantly feel like I'm making it up as I'm going along.
But I think we're all muddling through. And I think if we were more honest about the fact that, no one's got the perfect formula for this, no one is absolutely perfect at any of this, then I think we'd all feel just a little bit better at kind of muddling through. I have moments where I get to the end of the day and I think, yeah, I probably could have done today quite a lot better. But tomorrow is another day and I've learned from this experience and, moving on, it's fine.
Yeah, I think I agree.
I rather ridiculously, thank you to one of my friends, wrote a 20-year plan when I started planning Frelia, which I thought was an insane thing to suggest. And I did tell him this at the time. And he said, no, it forces you to really think big, but it also forces you to think of everything you possibly could. It's almost like get it all out there. So I did. And I wrote this ridiculous 20-year plan. And the team and I were laughing in the autumn when I wrote the sort of strategic plan. And I said, okay, let's just go back and look at the ridiculous 20-year plan, only to discover that things that we had in year 10 and year 15 are actually things that we're doing now. I started out to build a business that, had this enormous mission that kind of drove what I was doing. And even when it was really tough, I couldn't imagine walking away from it and not seeing it through, not giving it my best. And I still feel that way about it. I didn't build it for it to be, this $1 billion success, or it would be wonderful if it was. I built it because I believe it's doing good and it has a purpose and I want it to endure. I don't want it to be this sort of flash in the pan.
Are you enjoying what you're doing?
I do. I don't enjoy every single day. I don't know any of us that does. But I think you have to step back and ask yourself why you're doing it. You know, would you still feel the same way tomorrow if you woke up and thought, I didn't do it, but somebody else had done it? You know? And I think for as long as you can't imagine somebody else doing it rather than you, you're probably in the right space. The day you wake up and you think, I really don't care anymore, and somebody else have it, then it's probably time that you move on and had a bit of an exit plan.